Hi, today I'm going to talk about step 6 in my ERP Accelerator methodology. Prove it works, the laboratory and war games. This is an absolutely critical component, and it's something that I see is consistently underrated and underprovided for in terms of typical ERP project implementations, with the consequence that people go live and have all sorts of things go wrong, which should never have happened after go live. So this is a comprehensive engineering approach to achieving high value outcomes. I have to say, if the client is not prepared to do this prove it works step comprehensively, which means that they're bringing senior members of staff out of the business for a significant amount of time to comprehensively test and configure and get everything right, then you've got to ask the question, does the client really have the appetite for a new ERP? Should they not rather just re-implement or remediate the existing ERP, where these things will still apply, but to a lesser extent? So there you have an image of a fairly high-end laboratory. You don't have to go to quite those extremes, but it just gives you a sense of what we're talking about. And I stress, if the client is not prepared to do the hard yards that are necessary for this level of successful implementation, they probably don't need a new ERP because the pain is not great enough and the perception of value is not great enough. So let's look at a few fundamental components to prove it works. The key piece here is war games, which is simulating the real world, break it till you can't break it any longer. Then in that process, specifying the workflow with the help of consultants from a fundamental first principles point of view, cleansing master data, building up a fully representative test data set, building a full portfolio of reports and BI models, document all standards and standard operating procedures, train every single user through war games. And I'm going to go through all of this in more detail. So the basic steps of prove it works: agree the overall approach, plan and appoint a data curator, which should have been done already, contract consultants as facilitators, commission, appoint the core team, develop precision test data, specify, configure and test, war games, reports, dashboards, data warehouse, ETL and BI, all implemented, configured, tested before you go live. SOPs and comprehensive user training, including computer-based training and war game cutover. So I'm going to go through each of those in a bit of detail. So war games, break it till you can't break it anymore. A balanced team, all components of a process, every extreme, unusual, and quirky situation. Make it okay to find things wrong. Folks, a thing that goes wrong in a lot of projects is somebody comes along and says, I'm not sure this is going to work. And people say to them, don't be so negative. Look on the bright side. Be positive. No. Engineering says design against failure. Make it a rewardable thing to say, right, I'm raising my hand. This is not going to work in practice. Well done. Well spotted. How do we overcome that? You should, if in applying my ERP Accelerator right at the beginning, have put in place CEO custody, C-suite custody, and the whole leadership structure, not a steering committee. If you got on an aircraft and there was a committee in the cockpit, I promise you, you'd get off the plane very, very quickly. We're talking about an engineering mindset and disciplined leadership and a tested destruction philosophy. You've got to go in there and say, how can I break this? You remember that situation we had with that client 2 years ago where they did this and this and this. Let's see if we can handle it. Planning the laboratory, define your SOPs, protocols, and governance structure. Apply realistic and disciplined timelines. Folks, this is not the place to cut corners. There you see a picture of an engineering laboratory testing a sample bridge to destruction. You should already have made a decision whether you're going to remediate, re-implement, or replace in the decision phase of the ERP Accelerator. Whichever you're doing, this applies to various levels of sophistication. Carefully plan your upgrade and sandbox. You should have appointed a data curator at the start of the precision configuration, and they stay involved throughout this. Apply clean sheet data architecture. Do not wallow in as is. The staff live there. They're going to bring their knowledge of as is to the workshops. Visualize the ideal future state and how to get there, how to get the maximum value out of the ERP. That's why you need the external consultants there to help you push your paradigm in terms of the ERP. Then the consultants as facilitators, not owners. The client is the prime contractor. You've got to get out of this mindset that somehow the systems integrator, the implementation partner, whatever you call them, is somehow the prime contractor. No, the client is the prime contractor. You are making fundamental changes to your business. Therefore, the client is the prime contractor. The consultants facilitate and transfer knowledge. They should be looking to work themselves out of a job. There should be a success fee and premium rate so that shortly after go live, you can happily wave them goodbye because your team knows how to do things. Commission and laboratory, there's another image of a less sophisticated laboratory. It's a mission control style simulation environment, fully equipped. In your core team and your backfilling strategy, select the organization's A team, people who are highly experienced with deep knowledge of the business. Use psychometrics and operational judgment to select the best team and backfill. You cannot ask your people to do this project on top of running the business. Something's going to give, and it's typically going to be the project. You've got to bring in temporary staff, train them up, and then take the permanent staff off business as usual for 80%, leave them to let them handle the extreme situations and put them full-time on the project. And if you don't have the budget to do that, I'm sorry, you can't afford a new ERP. Then you need a precision sandbox and precision master data. Every possible scenario, every edge case, every unusual customer, every unusual product, every unusual supplier, every unusual sales situation. You've got to think about all the unusual things that happen, which means you need to have the best team in the room. And then design operations from a blank sheet of paper. I've touched on this before. Do not try and recreate what you have at the moment. Look to the future. How do we want to do this in the future? And then figure out the best way to getting the maximum value out of the ERP, and then break it until you can't break it anymore. Reports, dashboards, ETL, and BI. Building reports after go live is not the way to do it. Sit back with decent test data and create a full portfolio of reports, dashboards, ETL, and BI. Competency-based user certification. The truck driver metaphor. Looking at the truck in the picture on the slide there, you would not take an unlicensed driver, give them a 1-hour PowerPoint about driving heavy-duty trucks, take them into a vacant parking lot without the trailer, just the mechanical horse, and in half an hour drive around that, and then you let them out with a fully loaded 40-ton trailer onto the road. People would get killed. Your ERP is the lifeblood of your organization. Why cut corners there? You need to test and certify absolutely rigorously. War game go live, hypercare is an emission of a sloppy go live. If you really do this correctly, including a full war game simulation of the go live process, hypercare should really not be required. If it is, it should be very minor. We're talking about a robust, well-tested go-live process. So we're talking about empowering the business to succeed, engineering failure out before go-live, creating long-term operational confidence, enabling strategic executive decision support, reducing dependency on consultants, and positioning the organization to thrive for decades. Folks, this is possible, it's doable. You've just got to decide that you want to do it. To sum up, we're talking about a radical engineering approach to ERP success. My ERP Accelerator does the whole thing, and I provide services, training, and advisory around that. There's a link in the comments below to my free 90-minute briefing, how to maximize ERP value. And there's a 4-day practitioner course and a 4-day client course turbocharging your ERP, which goes into this in a lot of detail, lots of documentation, a whole big deck of PowerPoint slides, a whole lot of supporting documents, checklists, charters, job descriptions, etc., all of which will be showcased and discussed and presented in the 4-day workshop. So I really encourage you to sign up for it. If you're a practitioner and you want to raise your game, the 4-day course is an absolute must. And if you're a client organization about to implement an ERP, likewise, it's an absolute must. So proving it works is a rigorous, systematic endeavor directed in ensuring that the ERP is precisely configured, that the data is at an exceptional standard, and that all users are fully trained ahead of go live. So we're looking again at the ERP Accelerator. We've just completed step 6, and I will be posting posts on LinkedIn in the next week or so about each of the steps that I've just gone through, going into more detail. Once we've covered that, we'll look at Make It Work and then Thrive, how to unlock the full potential. Please drop your questions in the comments, and to sign up for the free 90-minute briefing, there's a link in the comments as well. So that's it, folks. I hope that's given you some insight and some new ideas as to how you can tackle the process of rigorously testing, configuring, and deploying an ERP to deliver an exceptionally high-value outcome, and to do it with zero risk to the client organization. Please feel free to message me or put a note in the comments. Happy to get on a Zoom call, and really encourage you to go for it. Thanks so much. Bye.